we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action at the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, which we have here on front of the screen. Take a look over there at the altcoin market. We'll take a peek over there at precious metals like gold and silver and the United States stock market, which is set to open up here in the next 3 minutes. Of course, we'll peek over there at any type of crypto news that is going on out there to kick off our day and any type of financial news that seems relevant. Otherwise, welcome to halfway through the week. It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday,
All right, what's going on? Oh, it's funny, man. It's kind of like I feel a little rusty, even though we did Markets in the Morning every day for so long, but we're doing it just on Wednesdays here during the summer. Every time I start everything up, I'm like, oh, yeah, how do I do this? How do I do that? Even in the intro, it was kind of backwards a little bit there. But all right. Hey guys, what's going on? Wow. It has been a wild week since we've seen each other last time. We went through the holiday weekend. And then of course we had crypto craziness there throughout the holiday weekend. Bitcoin shifting down, altcoin market shifting down. So we'll take a peek at all these different things. Of course, that altcoin market coming off of that 702 Fibonacci retracement, now back into those moving averages. You see it plowed right through the 50-week, held there on top of the 200, and currently right now it is above the 50-week. So we'll talk all about those things. Obviously, I've been putting out videos, just kind of talking about, you got the big mixed bag. I'm just going to try to avoid doing all that because we've talked so much about that in the videos that have been put out. But of course, if you're a cycle theory style person, believing that this is going to all move into cycles. In yesterday's video, of course, we were talking here about Bitcoin and where it's at from a time perspective. Of course, looking over there at things like XRP from a time perspective and how long we've been in this whole thing, how the conclusion of all of that came into here and where you are right now. Of course, even that, has confluence with lining up with where, Bitcoin is currently at right now. Looking at the altcoin market, we could see looking back to 2020 and 2021 and looking back to 2016, 2017, we're kind of entering into that window. I kind of talked about in that video yesterday, it being like, it seems like the next 2 months are really kind of like the deciding factor for like the next couple of years for us just in markets in general. One, just because cycle theories are going to end up being true or it's going to end up being broken. But at the same time, of course, we all know we got the stock market sitting here in this situation right now that doesn't seem like it would have more than 2 months left in it to make a decision to either go ahead and expand there with the Russell or do something like 2007, which, going back through 2023, we talked a whole lot about this and watching this if it would get to the 4.236 extension, reach the height of the roaring 20s bubble that led to the Great Depression. And then, of course, everybody's sitting on edge right now as, we have that same style market dynamic happening where you have the consolidation into the top 10 happening just like we did in 2007, just like we did in 1999 before the dot-com bubble popped, and, of course, 2020 before we ended up having the surprise liquidation of C19. So everybody sitting on edge right there as we are all waiting patiently to see if we can end up getting that Russell to give us some expansion and see some type of rotational play come out of the market. Because if this goes, it's time to stop being a baby. It's time to stop worrying about this thing up in here. We've already seen the rejection, obviously, off of the 702 retracement. So now it's getting to the point here with how far down it has fallen at this point. The way I'm kind of thinking about it in my head, as you guys know, as we've shifted down here, grabbing, setting stops, right? Grabbing, setting stops. Those stops have all gotten hit. Now it becomes more like the asymmetric bet thought process of, grabbing, holding, and no longer setting stops anymore. We've seen a massive fallback happen here in the market. I think we've seen 50% at this point right now. Right? Let's see if that's true. 50%. That's a big number. It's not unusual, right? We've done that many times. Right? That one's 60. That one's 71. So these numbers aren't like things we haven't seen before, but it becomes at this point now, if you have any thoughts in your head that now can go into building a new range to try to consolidate and go for a new move, just placing the asymmetric bet without any stops. It's kind of where my mind is at right now. And what I'm thinking is for those to have the asymmetric bet, I think the thing I'm really just waiting for is another move back down near these lows, and then those asymmetric bets will get placed with no stops, wide open air. So we'll see how that goes. We'll let that kind of develop out in there, but obviously we took out those lows. Brutal move happening there throughout the weekend. But otherwise, if you've caught the last few videos, just kind of the thoughts on where we're at. And, as weird as it is, I mean, I find it very weird. That is how these conclusions have happened before, really identically. I was also playing with the market cap of it as well from that time. And really, that was just exactly how they went. Oh, boy. There we go. And that was how our conclusion ended up coming in here for things like XRP. And so we're on the same timetable and we're right there. So it's the way with all these mixed signals, like I try to go through my head, like, and one thing I talked about in yesterday's video was just kind of being like, it sure would be nice if we could have things kind of like slowly ramp up and slowly get going in the right direction. But we have historically seen that a lot of times when these expansions can come, they actually just show up very quickly and very suddenly, and suddenly the signal is there and that we are heading into expansion. So of course, that's the thing that we're all waiting on to see which way does this range break. And it still hasn't given a signal. Then the thing that I find kind of optimistic is I think the thing that would be truly devastatingly scary would be if we were getting this type of price action happening here in the crypto market. While the stock market had already confirmed that we're doing that. So for us to just kind of be deep correcting without this thing falling apart, nor with the Russell breaking down, it smells like a hint of something. I'm not sure, but you would think if it was truly devastating that we would have already seen that. So there's a little bit of hope here, but obviously no answer is still there. And again, we talk about these things in like how the picture's so complicated. We're navigating in uncharted waters in these moments because you have these type of dynamics happening in the market that you did not have in 2012, 2016, or 2020. And so just kind of waiting for those things to play out right in there. And once we get an answer, that's the confluence we're looking for, because you have mixed on both sides. All you would need, like literally all you would need to sit there and become a raging bullhead is that to move up, because we've in that last newsletter even that was put out here just a week ago, we created TXCMC helped create a breadth indicator with the stock market, and it is a truly fascinating thing to look at, to see that not even looking at Russell, okay, just looking at breadth, like how many assets are moving upwards and what velocity are they moving upwards, and then moving that over to crypto, that the correlation is direct. It's not even a question. It's unquestionable, undeniable. It's completely correlated. the fantasies of Bitcoin, the fantasies and narratives of I've been in this. I've been in this game for over 7 years. How many times I've heard, oh, the stocks are going to crash and the phoenix is going to rise from the ashes. It is a unbelievable lie, unbelievable baloney. You have to have breadth open up. So, of course, that's a repetitive theme that we keep talking about. And unfortunately, we have to keep talking about that repetitive theme because we're at 209 days of being in it. So it's just kind of sitting there and waiting for it to go ahead and do something, right? So it's still going to be our thing that we're at. But boy, if there's a hint of optimism, of course, it's just been how we've done the whole corrective structure that happens after completed super cycles. Following it up until here, so it's getting a little wishy right in here, but you're not out of, you haven't run out of time. And I think that's the best case for the bulls yet. Is that this thing moved on time. It's one thing to just say, it hasn't run out of time. The fractal hasn't run out of time, because that's kind of dumb and that can fall apart. But the reason this has been fascinating is because time had aligned so well from where the peak came in, from where the peaks came in, from where the peaks came in. And we're talking these things are separated by themselves for a whopping 349 days, 348 days apart from each other. The rally prior to capitulation ended up happening out. Then they go through consolidations, and then on the exact same day, they break out. And then like the tweet that was taking place back there on October 11th that CZ Binance responded to, being like, hey, look, if we're going to follow time, now is the time to do it. What do you know? That was it. We went up only from that day because our time had been so aligned. So if there's hope on time, and again, you can't do this in 90% of the circumstances. You can't just overlay these and say it's time because the fractal says it's time. It's intriguing due to time actually aligning with the thing. If time didn't align with it, this would be stupid. But the fact that it has been the most fascinating thing. And so we'll look back on it. If this market ends up expanding on August 26th, nothing that you believe is real anymore. Everything is totally made up. Everything is pre-programmed. But anyway, that's just kind of where we're at. Again, one of those early signs, like I talked about in the video that I put out, if this does end up being the case, we ended up seeing a lot of response come from the market early. It did not actually take getting to the true expansion up in here for the signal to arrive. We actually ended up getting the signals in these several altcoins before Bitcoin went back off into expansion. So that's the thing to kind of keep an eye on, right? Like now, if you're just looking at Bitcoin from its perspective, these are going to be those things where like that's the mix, right? Has it followed this so far? Yes. Has it been remarkable? Yes. Like truly astonishingly crazy? Yes. Has the Russell broken down? No, right? Could it break up? Yeah, right? But outside of things like looking like a retracement, having the same structure as a retracement, also another thing that hasn't happened for Bitcoin in its history is to go under... It's not going to let me. Okay, that's why. To get back to the all-time high... and then go below its 200-day moving average, right? That's far different than things you have done before that give a different picture, right? So here you go back to your all-time high, right? You're just riding it up parabolically, right? That's the first time for something like that to happen. So, we're dealing with a mixed picture, and that's the thing. That's why I was like, I just need to make a video talking about confluence and say, look, at the bottom, there was all that confluence. At the top, the confluence, not as strong, but we knew hey man, retracement levels, these are scary things. We're back at them. We pinpoint nailed it, right? Why is gold breaking out? This is all weird. We're missing an element. Why is this thing not going? There was a couple of different things in there that gave a little bit of confluence. And so when we're looking for confluence, and you're looking for it right now, you do just have mixed. And that's the annoying part of moments like this right here, is that you don't have all of them like aligned in one way or the other. You have this one telling you the greatest the greatest bull run of your lives is right around the corner. And then, you got other ones that are telling you, nope, it's freaking over. Right. So that's kind of the thing we're in. That's why for the last couple of months I've been so protective and stop losses and everything like that. Usually it's just accumulation or it's taking money out. Very little stop loss playing in here, but it's been such a conflicting time in the market right now. But the thing where you would watch my attitude immediately change and no longer have any of those types of thoughts would simply be that. You simply get that to happen in here. Even if crypto stayed perfectly still, even if crypto went like negative 5% on a day where the week that the Russell did that, I would be coming on here being like, I'm all in, all in. If that ended up happening, because that is the absolute evidence for every move that has happened in crypto to get a true expansion. And again, when you kind of look back on just what the last couple of months have been like, again, they're just kind of learning experiences for those. Like, this is not a bull run, right? This was Wyckoff accumulation, heading back to then expanding off into a retracement level. And so when we get back to retracements, you watch euphoria kick in. It's going to be, for a lot of people, that's their first time to see something like that, to see where euphoria kicks in at the actual retracement levels. That is the third time that I've been in the crypto market where we've had the retail investor euphoria happen like that in those types of moments at a 702 retracement. So I've now seen that 3 times in that behavior. So, the good thing is a lot of the trash is kind of being washed out of the market. You're seeing a lot. I don't see anything about meme coins on Twitter anymore. That seems to be over. And so that's that extreme risk taking stuff. So now market's trying to find a footing, reset itself. People are kind of waking up from their drunken stupor to kind of realize, what am I doing? I need to wait for Bitcoin to fall 2% because now I'm a responsible investor. All right, there you go. Bitcoin 57.7. Mixed market over here today. Others, the big thing, of course, has just been that 702 retracement and trying to find some footing down here for the market. It has just been a big struggle for it to find any type of footing as we all wait to see the result of which way this thing ends up going for the Russell and expansion in the stock market. Again, these things are all on those timetables that are absolutely fascinating in here. And pray to God. These next couple of months are the months where we make it, man. Boy, it would be nice. All right. DXY 105. Again, pushing off of that 106, reached kind of that extreme at 106 again. Now pulling back. And again, there's just nothing like impulsive about this thing that is happening in here. It's just been washing machining sideways in here. I haven't seen anything aggressively impulsive, like, for example, like a move like this, or a steady climb to come up out of here in this thing. Of course, we are now at a year and a half of just sideways within this range, and still there's nothing impulsive showing up here for the DXY. So we just continue the range going on further. As for gold sits at 2381. Again, this is one of those things I talked about yesterday. If we are looking for things like confluence to show up in the market for a couple of signals to appear, one of them, of course, being the Russell breaking out, and then, of course, people getting away from the safety trade happening in here of running over to gold. But gold start drifting, and then we start seeing those elements start to show up of what we had happen back in past runs. Silver, same story. Silver's held on top of supports, of course, of that 3-year range that it was stuck in. 4-year range that it was stuck in right there. My thoughts are, we'll end up seeing, but my thoughts are we actually do stay here for quite some time. But I think on the longer term trajectory, I do think silver's in a bull run. The difference for things like silver, gold, these things may be very slow. So it could take literally 5 years, right, for that to end up going up. It's not like crypto where we have it happen. 1 year is great, and then the next 3 are trash. Okay. Moving over to financial news that's going on out there. Walmart is opening 5 automated distribution centers as it tries to keep its grocery dominance. Bill Gross says Tesla is the new meme stock. Mortgage refinance demands drops further despite homeowners sitting on $17 trillion in equity. Yeah, why would anybody refinance? It's over 7% to refinance your house. As NATO meets, leaders look to Trump-proof the military alliance. Stocks making the biggest moves pre-market, Taiwan Semiconductor, Tesla, Carvana, and more. How is Tesla doing? Let's see, Tesla. It's up 0.5%, no big deal. If there's anything worth looking at here. Nothing really. Okay. Moving over to crypto, Vitalik Buterin reflects on strengths, weaknesses of Ethereum, hardening the blockchain. The co-founder and intellectual leader of the largest smart contracts blockchain ecosystem addressed a packed room at the FCC conference in Brussels. Bitcoin steady at 58.5K as German state taxonomy moves $600 million in Bitcoin. So this is this thing over there on Twitter I keep seeing too. And kind of one of these things we talked about earlier. Let's take a look here. Dang, it's going to take me forever to find this thing. Notice like one of those interesting things about the whole move down that has happened so far in this market is that there hasn't been any negative news, right? And now as we get here, there's negative news. And what does it also involve? It involves a government, right? We've talked about those things before. And one of these things I was looking for in the event that we were going to go lower. In the event that we sweep the lows again, I've shifted my stops higher and I'll grab those lows. And that should confirm bottom is in. The crowd sentiment will likely be in the trash can. And a narrative will likely justify the sentiment, just like how bottoms always are. So if you've noticed, of course, now that this market has drifted and drifted and drifted, suddenly now, oh no, the German government is selling Bitcoin on me, right? Like it's over. I'm going to wait and I'm going to sell now after it's fallen really far and wait until Germany's done selling Bitcoin because I'm smart. Like, like that's just how narratives go. That's how this market ends up working. No negative news at any point the whole way down. And then as you get down here, you now have this Germany selling Bitcoin thing. I find that fascinating and I find that normal, right? At the top, it's nothing but bullish news. At the lows, it's nothing but bearish. So if you have an emotional log, write in your emotional log, this sucks. It's been going down so much. I hate this market. It stinks. And Germany's selling Bitcoin on me. Ah! And then, reflect back on that in 2 months and see if the market had reversed from there. And be like, oh, that was the bottom. All right, there we go. Enough goofing off. There will be more. Okay. Earn Bitcoin for eating tickets. What? Immutable says big studios are showing up. Microsoft and Apple renounce OpenAI board membership. 3 reasons why Ethereum price continues to underperform Bitcoin in 2024. Ethereum's actually held up quite well. Earn Bitcoin for eating tickets. Okay, I already saw that. Hamster Combat hits $239 million. Excuse me, let's start that again. Hamster Combat hits 239 million users in 81 days. Okay, what is this? Is this paid? Anybody in the chat? Have you done Hamster Combat? Do you know what this is? Anybody? No, okay. People in the chat, everybody's saying no. We got our first yes. Okay, we got 9, 10 no's, and 1 yes. I'm wondering if that's paid BS. If this is some type of paid thing going on here. Okay. I remember seeing this come across on Cointelegraph last week. I was like, this is dumb. I moved on. Now they're saying 239 million. You would assume if this is a crypto related thing people here in the chat would know what it is? No one. Okay. Uniswap cites Chevron in another urge for SEC to drop bid to rule over DeFi. Lionel Messi promotes Solana meme coin on Instagram. Oh boy, did his account get hacked. Vanek and 21 shares send amended Ethereum ETF filings to the SEC. So I'm guessing we should be hearing from that pretty soon. Another thing, Fred Rispoli, who I've had the pleasure of hanging out with, I even hit him up, and me and him went to karate combat together. He is a good time. He is a good time to hang out with. But obviously we're waiting on the Ripple thing to come to a conclusion in the final ruling from the judge on remedies, I believe. And he was talking about it would be absolutely poetic for it to be July 13th, because July 13th marks the 1 year, not a security date. And it would be very poetic for that to be the date. Well, I guess that would have to be a weekend, right? Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a ruling on the 13th. Maybe we get it on Friday, the 12th. Anyway, we're also supposed to be having the Ethereum ETFs come through at some point soon too, probably this week or next. MetaMask unveils a new toolkit to streamline Web3 user onboarding. German government prepares for its next $276 million Bitcoin sell-off. Isn't it so nice, retail investors, that you get telegraphed ahead of time? Isn't that so nice? That they all do such a good favor for you to let you know ahead of time. And you're totally not being played. Okay, Bitcoin bulls refuse to flip bearish despite the $53,300 retest. Yeah, it is always interesting whenever they're finally not afraid to buy the dip. That's the dip that just keeps on dipping. All right, there you go. That's what we got going on today. I'm looking for this market to find its footing. For me, when it comes to asset entry, some stuff held up well, some stuff hasn't, right? Like, so stuff that like slammed back into the lows but recovered it would be like ADA, Aave, Zcash, surprisingly. I know other stuff has really bounced back well, but a lot of stuff has just gone ahead and taken those lows and still hung out below there. But as for me, in the coming days, if we end up drifting down, which I do suspect we will, revisit back down in here, I'm probably going to start chipping away to just send stuff off to cold storage at that point. And asymmetric bets that this market does have a recovery at some point ahead of itself. I did mention I did buy some XRP in there. Can't believe we're doing it, but we're doing it. And anyway, if this is it, right? If this is it, I won't regret it. But if this is the end of times, maybe I will. But how can you not take the shot, right? I don't think for me personally, the way I think about it is like, how can I not take the shot there? How can I not do it? I have to give it a shot. So I did. All right. There you go. That's what's going on today, guys. And I don't think there's a whole lot for me to say that I haven't put out videos. I've been slamming those videos lately. And yesterday's was 28 minutes long, I think. So you kind of got everything you really need to hear in the video. But just kind of see an update of what's going on here in the market. We were looking stronger before the stock market ended up opening up. What is the stock market doing right now? Russell's up slightly. Dow is down 12 points, whatever. NASDAQ continuing its thingy. As the Magnificent Seven still continue to hold the whole stock market together. But Dow just doesn't seem to get out. And so, like, we've been talking about, like, how long has it been in here even? Oh my gosh, we're going on a month in here. So you guys have got to be sick of the expansion talk and the breadth talk. That's a whole month, man. Oh boy, it'll be nice when the day comes where it leaves that. But until then, we just wait. But all right, let's go ahead and hop into the chat for a little while. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. It's the #1 way to support the channel. More than super chats, more than anything, it is absolutely just smashing the like button, and I really appreciate it. Oh boy. All right, so what I really need to do for streaming at some point is I need one of those stream decks where you just kind of hit the button and it does stuff. This whole streaming thing would be a whole lot more professional if it did, if I hit the button and then like the actual real BCB intro plays on the channel rather than me like opening the file on another screen and just playing the audio for you. That would sure be a whole lot more professional if I did that, if the actual intro showed up on the screen. Or if I learned how to do that in OBS or whatever. But we also need like wah, 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 or for bad dad jokes. And I'm very difficult to get with a dad joke, but anyway, Dread Cons went for it anyway. He says, "Where do frogs deposit their money?" In a riverbank. Cute. Very, very cute. Dread, thank you, man. Thomas Cutwood says, "You always say good news comes at the top. I haven't heard good news yet. It is just one metric, but how important do you see this?" You always say good news comes at the top. I haven't heard any good news yet. What are you talking about? The market was euphoric over Bitcoin ETFs months ago. Right now we've been pulling back, right? We've been pulling back for months. So now it's at the point where you're getting rattled with bad news now, right? And if anybody hasn't noticed that trend yet, that you are slammed with good news at peaks and you are decimated with bad news at lows, document it. That's why I always talk about an emotional log. There's literally, it was the best thing I had ever done for myself in this market, was totally going through daily documentation. And what I know a lot of you guys do is when things are bad, you do it as your like venting mechanism and you only write in it when times are bad, but you don't write in it when times are good. And it's important to go back and look at those, and then you have all the dates on them, and then you can go back and look at charts and say, what was I doing on these days? What was I doing on these days? How was I feeling on these days? And what were my emotions like? And then you say, well, how was I feeling in here? And then how was I feeling in here? And you notice that big, drastic, sudden change that ended up happening in there. And you have your own indicator to go back and look at and reference, how do I feel today? Right? Next time you're like, dude, I don't think this thing's ever going down. I think we're 10xing. Meme coins are popping off everywhere. Everybody's super euphoric. We're all singing Kumbaya and holding hands. Last time we did that, we were right there. And that you can go back and use your emotional log as that reference point. But most time, I tried asking people about that when we were in that euphoria, because all I was doing is talking about how we were at a retrace, and people, obviously you saw content creators trying to make a name for themselves by saying we're going to keep going up, blockchain back, or let them burn. I hope their viewers are doing okay. But people probably, the people I talked to weren't documenting in that time period. They weren't documenting in the euphoria of how they were feeling. And that's an equally as important thing. It's not just about making it and whining and complaining about it when times are bad. It's about being in the middle. It's about being at the peaks. And you can kind of gauge your own self in those things. But good news and bad news. You said, I haven't seen any good news. Yeah, you're not going to get good news down here. You're just not going to get it down here. You're going to get the Germany selling Bitcoin thing. You're going to get the Mount Gox stuff. You're going to get Tether FUD. You're going to get all your bad stuff at the lows. And up here, you're going to get Bitcoin ETFs. You're going to get Germany's buying Bitcoin, right? That's what you're going to get. Michael Saylor drops $1 billion, right? Like that's the stuff you're going to get up higher, right? And if you reflect back on it too, Michael Saylor, the Bitcoin buys for Michael Saylor and company, they were like $10 million. Right? This is $1 billion Bitcoin buy up here. And then these are like $10 million clips, 1% all throughout here. Like just having to keep the charade going and being like, we're buying it, 10 million, which of course was just peanuts, right? And then it gets up in here, we're back to buying $1 billion clips again, up near the highs. Anyway, it's just the Michael Saylor stuff to me is just noise. But retail investors eat it up. I look on YouTube, I see what videos get the highest views. If you put Michael Saylor and if you put Bitcoin on the thumbnail, you're going to get a lot of views. People eat it up and worship Michael Saylor. And that dude wasn't even here in the 2018, 2019, and 2020 bear market, as you know. George Alexanderopoulos, member for 12 months. Good morning, BCB. Are we getting lower lows, lower highs with supports getting broken in terrible economic conditions? More signs point to retrace was all we get. Right. I think you're looking for me to tell you that we're going to crash and crumble and everything is all over. I think is what your question is. That, of course, is not what people were thinking 3 months ago, but of course, prices pull back and everybody wants that. Have we seen corrections of this magnitude? Yes. The answer is going to derive from this, though, right? If this goes and expands, it's gonna likely turn into way more than just a retrace. It can finally get through, but this is the answer, and I don't have the answer for you on which direction that's going to go from right there. Right? Everybody wants it. This is at a retrace, right? You can create two different things to come from this right in here. One, like here's the concerns, right? One, it didn't follow along with the Dow, it didn't follow along with the Nasdaq, it didn't follow along with the S&P, and it's the most consolidated market almost in history. The only thing that rivals it is 2007, which happens to be this thing that we've looked at the whole time. So that's the challenges that you are facing in here. However, if you study Wyckoff accumulation, that's Wyckoff. That looks like sign of strength. This thing has to give us an answer and give us a result. If the result is up on this thing, then I wholeheartedly think crypto is going to go, and wholeheartedly think we'll recover. We'll recover, but we have to get an answer from it. Right. To emotionally think we can't, like, it's just clockwork, man. Being in the position that I am in, to go through the bouts of retail euphoria and retail pessimism. The pessimism all lasted through here, right? The pessimism all lasted through here. And then the optimism returns in here. From a time perspective of how short that was, right? Like just looking at it like this, pessimism, optimism. And truly optimism continues to here, right? But for me, it's optimism, concern. I mean, it's so short-lived. It's just so short-lived, just from thing. And then the crowd now gets to concern, right? Way over here. It takes the rejection showing up and evidence showing up, and it's a weird world. But yeah, that sucks, right? That sucks. That's the reality of it. Like that's what happened. You knocked off of a 702 retracement. Now it has to find a footing. And if it finds a footing, there are still concerns, right? One thing we can watch in the coming months is to see, does this thing still continue to follow? If this thing continues to follow, and if the Russell breaks up, guess what? Let's go. Let us get an go, right? It's all time, right? But if things start not doing that, right? If the Russell just kind of meandering around a little bit, and things aren't like breaking out tremendously over here, and we get kind of beyond our timetable, and the timetable is no longer in play anymore over here for Bitcoin, we're going to have concerns in here of things like this. And that's a big problem right there for a rollover to happen from at that point right there. So, after big drawdowns like this is where pessimism comes in. This is where people start selling at the lows to try to buy lower, right? That's just how it is. Once they've kind of given up hope. And now, of course, when you get those negative narratives of things like Germany selling Bitcoin, and that's being telegraphed to you, retail investor, to scare you a little bit, I don't think so. The thing that we're going to be watching for, the major thing we're going to be watching for is this, right? And in order to not be terrified of that level right there in the market, we will need to see things like Bitcoin getting through, and we'll need to see things like the Russell getting through. Otherwise, when we get back there, it's the same thing all over again. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. But we have to wait until we get there to see what the other dynamics are in the market at that time. Mr. Nobody. Hey, BCB, I hope you had a good fourth. Do you think that Wyckoff accumulation 702 retrace peak was wave one or an A wave? Okay, so I'm thinking your A wave is, so are you trying to say that type of A wave? I think it's too early. I don't want to draw out all these different things of like death and doom right now, because I just don't think it's necessary to do all those things. But we could, I can even do non-death and doom stuff, and it's going to just make people lose their mind. Because just remember, 3 months ago, they thought they were going to be millionaires right here, right? The one thing, and I tried to go back in my videos to find it. And here we go. I can leave a challenge for other people to do it if you want to help me. In here, okay, in here, somewhere in November. And if it wasn't in November, it was in here. Okay, in January. And I know we talked about this 2 or 3 times, and it had to be in Markets in the Morning. But we talked about how one thing that could occur in here would be that we get back to the retracement and it rejects really hard from there. And this is going to be in a couple of different live streams in here. And that we said this would be the thing people wouldn't want, because what could you technically go through in here is do a whole year in here that is like that to end up getting out. If we could find that, I would love to see that again in those discussions that I had on that. And this was, of course, way before we had gotten way up here. I don't know if it's going to let me replay on here. It won't let me replay. But this is essentially when we're back like in here and saying, hey, look, the thing that could happen is we get all the way up to the retrace and pull back in here. And then this turns into a long range. And that would be, just even that alone is what people would not want to hear. I know how this market works. If you told them, hey, this is now going to become a range bound to end up getting out in here, that could be a case happening in here. The only way that doesn't become a case is if this thing expands. And I just try to simplify it for everybody to say, look, I've done all the research. I've done enough of this stuff. We're writing newsletters about it. There's a very specific reason I'm beating it into the YouTube channel. This is the thing that matters. This is the thing that's going to tell you when. There's zero doubt. It's unequivocal. There is no argument or debate. This is the thing that matters. And of course, we're just stuck. But as for how long or whatever, it's just waiting on that. And hopefully you can continue to follow this. And hopefully some type of magical unicorn dust shows up that gives this thing the expansion. The hard thing, of course, is Wyckoff back at the retracement, down, everything else is up. It's just, you got mixed in every direction right now. And that's why that video was made yesterday about confluence, is that you don't have like 100% downside confluence and you don't have 100% upside confluence. You have the mix in the middle, which is the trashiest stuff, because everybody wants clear, concise, here's what the things are saying, but you are in this scenario, like in some scenarios, you get all of those things to show up in there that you're looking for to say, hey, all these factors are pointing positively. you have the mix of all, you have a complete mix throughout here. But if there's one element, and that's why we keep looking at this one, if there's only one, if you wanted to ignore all the other ones, and if there's only one, look at that one right there. JJ Jacob, others 200% from bear lows. However, most of my alts at FTX prices. How does it make sense from a sentiment standpoint? It felt worse to buy during FTX. Well, during FTX, people thought the crypto market was collapsed and over, that there was no shot of it coming back. That was a crazy one. I remember going onto a Twitter space with David Schwartz and saying, David, I've been through the 2018 crash. I went through C19. C19 didn't scare me in that manner for some reason. And that was a big one. That was a 70, I think we just showed it, and others, that was a 71% crash, right? So this thing's down 50% right now. It was 71%. That's a massive figure. That's like losing an additional 60% from right here, of where we're at right now. That one didn't scare me because that was an isolated event. And when crypto crashed in 2018 and Bitcoin hit its bottom, I had a long emotional log going in there. I was a hot mess in that emotional log in there. But there was no real narrative happening in there. The only narrative that was happening during that was Ethereum ICOs are dumping their Ethereum, right? I think that was the narrative during that time. Ethereum ICOs are selling off all their Ethereum. But there was no devastating thing. FTX collapsing felt like devastation, right? It felt like this market was in trouble. And we're coming off of the heels of watching a $60 billion asset, Luna, collapse to zero practically overnight. We're coming off the heels of watching Celsius freeze everybody's funds and go away. And then we get FTX on top of it. So there was a series of events leading to that one that also made it way worse. But there's no real narrative to go along with this. Also, people aren't screaming for lower yet for Bitcoin. That's one thing, though. People aren't screaming for this. Who's got the price targets? Jonas Vugalas, I'm celebrating a year and as a member for 12 months, although I've been following you from the start of 2021. Thank you for showing up. Jonas, thank you. Stephen Edinburgh says, I really didn't need to buy more XRP at the lows, and I did. It felt dirty. It felt dirty for me too. These content creators you mentioned have gone very quiet now. Do your own research. Oh. They'll be back. They'll be back to do it again. Stephen Edinburgh then gifted a membership. Brother, thank you very much. Corey, does Bitcoin look like Wyckoff accumulation and now spring to you? I've seen a lot of people de-risk and capitulate when Bitcoin broke the lows. This is the dip that most don't want to buy, but rather de-risk. It's just at these prices of where you're at. Like if you were thinking of being a seller, like you kind of had to have a plan on that a while ago. Now, like if everybody's selling right now, like you're selling with everybody, right? That's the only problem. You're just kind of following the crowd on selling right now rather than having looked at a lot of things for the last couple of months where Bitcoin's been at. And here's the worst part about it. All right, like let's pretend that you're in something like this, right? That you're in something like that. And let's pretend like you've got something like that for Bitcoin right now. I'm just pretending, right? This would be like if you're selling now at 57 or whatever, and your plans to buy back at what, 30 or 35 or 20 or whatever, I don't know what your number is, but this washing machine like crazy, right? And that, just good luck, You know, I don't like for everybody's trade plan when they decide to sell after it's already fallen really hard. I don't have a strategy for you on how you're going to manage any of that, right? Like what you're going to do is what you're going to do. Like you kind of let it fall real far and then you decided to sell like hard. But your question is, does it look like Wyckoff accumulation to you? Not necessarily. Yesterday we did show examples of like gold doing that. But like, let's see. So a way we can kind of like invert our brains, right? Look at it from the upside down perspective in here, right? Right. So the question is, would you be bullish or bearish on this chart right here? Right. It's a tough one. Let's go see if we can find your question is, does it look like Wyckoff accumulation? Let's go find Wyckoff accumulation schematics in an uptrend. All right. So like if I was looking for Wyckoff accumulation, it would be more of like this getting up higher and then doing it all down in here, right? To try to go up like that. But being so close to a peak, you know, you got to still have the concern about distribution, right? But I mean, me personally, I just don't, either out of my skill set to be able to identify it. But looking at for like Wyckoff accumulation, right? So what would you call this? You would call this, right? Southern climax, automatic rally, secondary test, and then no. Southern climax, secondary test, in phase B, and spring, right? That's what you're going for, saying that's spring. Hopefully, man. Hopefully. Certainly ugly, though. Slowly over Stone says, what's your thoughts on Flare and its charts? So Flare just follows the market. Flare has a very high inflation rate because all you guys are getting massive airdrops into your wallets every day, right? I mean, I've got Flare too, right? But this is from the original airdrop. But remember, massive supply increases happening nonstop, which dilutes the market cap. And it just moves with the market. So nothing in particular about Flare. But thank you. Jesse Gullick. Nothing but a super chat. You got 5 thumbs up for it. Just simple. Thank you, man. Philip, man, a member for 13 months. Frog City, y'all. Run that clip. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you, brother. Philip, thank you very much. That's right. It has been a little while. Sometimes my wife will text me if I take too long. Let's see if she did. She didn't. She must not be doing her job. Well, I'll be in the doghouse now.
It is Wednesday It is Wednesday, my It is Wednesday, dudes.
There we go. There we go. All right. That was for you, Philip. Thank you. And everybody in the chat, of course. De Black, remember for 8 months. BCB, I think they're holding the market until they have more direction on the election. If Democrats win, print more. If Trump wins, let it burn. From Mike J. Right. So one of those things we've talked about a lot is people often say, markets will do great because it's an election year. And I've always been like, that's nonsense, right? What about C19? What year was that? It was 2020. It's an election year. What about the great financial crisis? 2008. It's an election year. What about the dot-com bubble pop of 2000? Election year, right? Election years have always been trash. But what we have seen historically, which of course everybody attributes to being the block reward halving because it's baked into the protocol. However, these breakouts tend to do, if you're looking at timing of when they've happened, they, those elections do seem to provide some type of clarity. Kind of like there's uncertainty in the market, you get through it, then you see things end up getting pretty crazy. So we have seen that after elections, right? The year of January through November, the election year, lots of uncertainty, lots of volatility, lots of craziness that happens. But we have seen once you get past that election, things can start getting ramped up. You kind of mentioned if one person wins or if the other person wins. Well, if we look at the last three, right, you look at 2012, you look at 2016, you look at 2020, who were the winners of all those elections, right? You had Barack Obama in 2012, right? Then you had Trump in 2016, and then you had Biden in 2020, right? So you went from Democrat, Republican, Democrat. None of it made a difference of who actually was the winner. The markets ripped once you got beyond that point. So it's a fair point to say after the election is when things have kind of ramped up, but we'll end up seeing. But it doesn't seem to matter, at least for the last three expansions that we've had. It has not mattered who won. Or, excuse me, it does not matter which party has won. Larry Chisholm, good morning, BCB. It's interesting that crypto people are expecting 150K Bitcoin and we're stuck. Meanwhile, TradeFi people are sidelined with $6 trillion in money market. Right, so that's a misconstrued number. That's $6 trillion in money markets. There's not sidelined money. Don't interpret that as sidelined money. Go look at TXMC. That the thing, it climbs nonstop. It's always climbed throughout the history of time. There's always going to be people moving money into money markets. Do not interpret that $6 trillion in money markets as sidelined cash ready to enter the market. It's not. The SPX and NDX keep ripping. Just thinking out loud. Well, it's a consolidated market, right? What we keep talking about is this. I don't think there's much to read from any of those things. People expect 150 Bitcoin, of course, and it is always funny to me. Like the targets are even so much lower this time around, right? TradeFi people are sidelined. They're not sidelined, and SPX and NDX keep ripping, right? So it's breadth, right? So it's a Magnificent Seven pushing the whole thing up, and I think it's really the only thing you could really take from any of that you had in there. I wouldn't read into the $6 trillion money market sideline cash because it's not. Yeah. Larry, I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't think anybody's sidelined. Jack, 32 months, man. Let's get a fish tank update. Market is blah. Yeah, market is blah. Fish tank is okay. I'm down to one fish tank, by the way, everybody. I had 3. I had one like a baby tank where I'd put babies in it. If I ended up pulling some out of another tank, I'd kind of like nurse those babies and like let them grow and then move them into the main tank. The main tank's gotten so nuts. There's just hundreds of babies in there at all times, and the ecosystem just can't handle significant growth. So there's no point of me like trying to play God and increase that. So the baby raising tank just became non-used anymore. 13-gallon tank. I always said, I've got one fish in there in particular, and if that fish ever dies, then I'll go ahead and shift all the other fish into the main tank, and we'll just go down to one tank. Maybe 2 months ago, that fish finally died. I've moved all those fish out. We're now down to just the 75-gallon fish tank. The biggest thing that has come from the fish tank that has me all excited is that like a year ago, my brother-in-law gave me some shrimp. He gave me like 5 or 6 shrimp. I had them in the tank. They never showed up. It was just a couple of shrimp in there for a good solid year. And now suddenly I've got anywhere between 50 to 100 full-size shrimp suddenly. And this all just developed in the last month or two. And the shrimp are awesome because they sit there and they clean up all the mess. They keep everything good and nice and neat. So I'm excited that I have such a big shrimp population in there now. But thank you, Jack. Yeah, I'll try to get video sometime soon. Corey, since there's so many conflicting signs, I wonder, what do you think about Raoul Paul's liquidity cycle theory? I think Raoul Paul's getting tested here real quick. I think he is. Remember banana zone. We're entering the banana zone. It hasn't gone to banana zone, guys. Right? This is what his theory of banana zone was supposed to be, that we're entering banana. It's not entering banana. Right? I'll hop on banana zone discussion. If, again, reiterating, breath opens up, blah, blah, blah. You're tired of hearing that. You're going to keep hearing it, so just enjoy it. Soak it up. But yeah, no. And I kind of pay attention to certain things. I pay attention to what the crowd is paying attention to. It's not just, when I come on here and me just saying, yeah, this is what this chart looks like. I'm constantly soaking in everything I possibly can from the market that I think that can possibly give me some edge. And there's some things in certain people that, I've watched and, I don't, I remember, I think I remember when I sold my Ethereum on like November 10th or November 11th of 2021. And that was where I made the final market update, or the final Ethereum update on bcbacker.com. And I was like, that's it. I've sold it all. Raoul Paul tweeted out, I've just made my biggest bet I've ever made in my life on Ethereum. And then it crashed and crumbled. And then at the end of it, he had only lost like 5% or something. And I didn't understand how that happened, how he had made his biggest bet on anything he'd ever made in his life. And then he only lost 5% when Ethereum crashed and crumbled. I don't know if he's ever elaborated on that or not. But, and I'm not saying Raoul Paul is this. I think Raoul Paul's a businessman, right? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a businessman. And I think, he has a crypto business. And dude, power to you, man. But I think in other people in this market, there's a lot of money in this market, right? There's a lot of money to be made by manipulating crowds. That is why people like me get so many DMs of them asking, can I see your price sheet? Like, I have a price sheet, right? Like, to shill garbage trash, right? But I also think there's people, like, if you were a government or if you were a hedge fund or something like that, would you try to create content creation? Would you try to say, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a content creator. We're going to get everybody to trust us. And then we're going to have that content creator steer people in certain ways. Would you do that? In like illiquid coins and stuff like that too? Like, not would you do that, but could you see that? I could see that happening. And so I kind of go into it like this skeptical eyes, or is there anybody in this space that is like that? And I bet there are people like that. Who are they? I have no clue. But I bet it exists out there somewhere. And like I remember when Tim Cook went on TV, the day like that was the day. Like I remember I was in my kitchen, I had my phone in my hand. It's November 9th, November 10th, November 11th, something like that. 2021. And I'm scrolling through Twitter. Somebody posts, "Hey, Tim Cook says buy Ethereum." And I watched the video, and Tim Cook on like November 9th, 2021. Let's go find it. Tim Cook buy Ethereum. There it is. Tim Cook says he owns cryptocurrency and he's been interested in it for a while. And in there, in this interview he did, he was like, I think it's important for everybody to have Ethereum and Bitcoin in their portfolio. And like, you always get wrong-footed by mainstream media. Why would they not socially engineer content creators to like plant into these places? Like, it would make perfect sense for me to do that. I've gotten the original question was Raul Paul, and I go in an entirely different direction. Yeah, Banana Zone, I don't know about that. I don't know. I think you have to have expansion. That's just my simple thing. Because the data all shows it. I try to be as data-oriented as possible. That is the data that suggests that has to happen. And if we get that, Banana Zone, let us all go. I'm down. Carl says, "Hey, BCB, I have another drum tuber for you, Delta Empire. I end up listening to his covers instead of the original artist. He covers everything from Pantera to your favorite, Taylor Swift." Let's see. Man, this guy's got a crazy set. I've never seen him before. He covers his face, huh? If you like haven't, even if you're not a drummer, it is a lot of fun to watch people do drum covers of some of your favorite songs. Like if you have your favorite song, go to YouTube and search for your favorite song and drum cover. People will add sick, twisted, cool beats to whatever song it is that you love, and it's just a good time in general, even if you don't play. Corey, thanks, man. I'll check it out. I've got it open on another tab. I'll check it out later. Oh, not Corey. Carl, brother. Thank you. Corey, thank you. And you guys were very generous. Corey and Carl, thank you. Zeke, how's the family? And how's your son recovery, brother? I think I've given an update on my son. I don't know if I've given an official update, right? So for those who don't know, maybe 2 months ago, at my son's school, if you have children, small children in elementary school or in preschool, what ends up, they eventually, a lot of times when you're walking in a hallway, they want you to keep your hands to yourself, right? And so a lot of times kids put their hands down by their sides, or they'll have their hands like a pretzel in front of their chest, right? Hold on to your shoulders, hold on to your chest or something. Keep your hands to yourself. A lot of times, like blow a bubble with your mouth. Got your lips all big so you're not talking while you're in the hallway. You're being quiet as you're walking through the hall. In my class that I was in, my son was in, they were having them walk with their hands behind their back, kind of like you're handcuffed, right? And what happened was my son fell forward and hit his face on the floor, and busted his lips wide open, and it knocked his teeth to where they were loose in his mouth. And we had to go to the urgent care, and they did like a liquid stitching on him, and they immediately told us he is going to be losing his teeth. And so we took him to the dentist right after that. The dentist informed us, yes, they did x-rays. Yes, he is going to lose his teeth. We took him to the oral surgeon that same day. Oral surgeon confirmed he would be losing his teeth. We went back up for a follow-up appointment a week later so the dentist could check on his teeth. And she said, wow, they've started to firm up. That's pretty good. Let's check on them again in another week. I guess they had anticipated that the teeth would have turned gray by then. And so then we went back another week later, and the teeth were firmed up even more. And now here we are, like 2 months later, the teeth are fully good, and none of them died, and none of them fell out, and we have a full recovery. So thank you for asking. As a parent, I've been a parent for over a decade. We haven't had an injury like that to that magnitude. There was lots of blood involved in that one. And to see him fully recover, it was very traumatizing event, and he's fully recovered. So thank you for asking. Ryan Hummel, he says, I'm not to shill any coins, but would like to know your take on Casper and multiverse extras. I don't really have an opinion on Casper. Because I've been asked about that over the years. Even for you guys, when I was at Consensus of 2023, I went up to the Casper booth and just kind of relayed my thoughts on what I saw there. I don't even know what the chart looks like anymore. Is that one of those ones that still continues to go into lower lows below FTX? It's been so long since we've talked about Casper. It's waiting for the whole market. I mean, I can see Wyckoff in there. I can see spring happening in there, but man, the rest of the market is to still be going below the June of 2022 lows. Just, yeah, how much of a recovery are you really going to get out of that thing? Now, as for EGLD, which your question was Multiverse X, I'm not super familiar with it. I don't follow it super closely. It was one that did make it into the list on the newsletter for, I can't remember what metric it had going for it, whether it was total value locked or NFT activity, or if it was developer activity, what it was. But, again, it's one of these things where it's not doing anything special in the market that the market isn't already doing. If this is spring phase of the market, I'd be interested to see how EGLD does. I don't own any, but I'm not opposed to grabbing it one day just because it meets some of the criteria. Off the top of my head, I cannot recall what criteria it is that it was that we wrote about in there, but it did make it on the list. But it's not doing anything independently that makes it special right now. And Casper is of course, super weak, going below lows of 2022. If expansion doesn't happen, what happens to alts still at the lows? They go lower. Right. Right. Your question is, so what if expansion doesn't happen? What happens to alts that are still at the lows? Then they go lower. That's the interesting thing about this, right? If this market doesn't expand and doesn't enter into a bull run, what does it mean? How long is it going to take for one to ever show up in here? That's a big question. That's why I'm saying these next couple of years seem to be dictated by what is going to be happening here in the next couple of months in this market, not just for crypto, but also for the United States stock market, because I think the stock market's going to tell the story. So, oh, wow, we're at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I know it's been a lot of action in here. Now we're just waiting for some type of support to come off of here after that big 702 rejection, and just waiting for things to settle and some type of signs and more confluence to make its way into the market. Otherwise, we'll keep our eyes on this stuff. I'll try not to be too repetitive this week on the videos. I think in the grand scheme of things, though, I think you get the majority of the information and the viewpoints really just coming from the videos on Monday and the videos there on Tuesday. We're kind of in a waiting thing, and to enjoy your summer, do your thing, and hopefully by the time we conclude this summer, we can have some action actually coming into the market. But your primary focus is the RTY, and I get it that has been a repetitive talking point because as we showed in here, we're now at a month of that being the range happening in there. So waiting for something to show up. Mike Shaw TV gifted 5 BCB memberships. Brother, thank you. So where do we get the stick thing and say, come on, do something? Because that's what we need. Otherwise, guys, all right, that's going to be it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Of course, check out bcbacker.com for over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and your own indicators within TradingView Pro. Check out the newsletter over there on blockchainbacker.substack.com. Have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Nope, we're not done, right? See all those other people, they like clicked and they left and they bailed and they didn't realize I'm rusty. They screwed the whole thing up. We're not done.
It is Wednesday, my It is Wednesday,
All right, there we go. Have a good one.